Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Emre Övsay, endodontist, R&D specialist, and creator of Rising. Today, we are going to talk from roots to results, the Rising protocol unveiled, and about the cases which I'm going to give you some information today with our new file system Rising. I'm going to share you some details part by part in every webinar to increase our gear to find the best way for the solution of our new file system. We have a clinic called Advanced Endodontics, and I'm a faculty member. So I both work for clinic and for educational purposes. And to ones who don't know me, to express myself as I'm a faculty member, I'm a lecturer, I'm a researcher, and I'm an R&D specialist and global speaker of Fanta Dental. So we have a big research team in faculty. I work with my wife. She's an experienced endodontist also. We do also a lot of research about the Rising file, and we are going to publish many articles in a short period of time of our new file Rising. So thank to millions of people that text me from social media, and then I'm now adapted to make a video post for the Instagram account to answer some questions of Rising that many of the colleagues asked me about the details of Rising. So I'm going to shot a series of videos that explaining every detail of Rising online. So let's see about the two videos.
I'm Dr. Emre Övsay, endodontist, R&D specialist, and creator of Rising. Rising is not just another rotary file system. It's a paradigm shift. Designed beyond the conventions of traditional systems, Rising delivers true anatomical shaping with unwavering consistency and efficiency across all case types. We do our work with passion.
And the other video.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Emre Övsay, endodontist, R&D specialist, and creator of Rising. Let's explain where Rising gets revolutionary. 3 fully distinct cross-sections give each file in the sequence a signature function. The cutting angle dynamically shifts with every rotation, adapting to the clinician's pressure and shaping strategy in real time. We do our work with passion.
Our passion is Rising, and we are going to give you more details about our file system. So I see some posts on the social media about the specialties of Rising. Rising is a patented product, and it's a very well-produced product. So our specialties of our file is just patented to us, and it's a patented product. So to start with endodontics, we have microorganisms everywhere. The main cause is to remove microorganisms from the root canal system to gain a proper shape and filling for the root canal system. We are dealing with complicated anatomies. We have to create a space to make a proper filling, and we have to make a proper shaping procedure to complete our root canal therapy. We know that we need a special file system to achieve all these functions inside the root canal system without having any problems to complete the procedure very smooth and very easy. But before going on details, we always need to work under magnification. And for the importance of a microscope, the swing arm, the binoculars, and the focal lens is very important to achieve the best clarity of image while in working conditions during your clinical practice. And I'm proud to say that all of the videos in my presentation are shot by our microscope Fanta MCS 3000A, and let's have a look at it. With this Sony high bit sensor, you can capture very good images and very good videos during your clinical cases. Rotary files are part of our endodontic therapy, and everyone is asking me the same question. What do I use in my clinical practice? Before rising, I use all of the Fanta files, combining them in my daily practice to achieve root canal therapy. But when I created Rising is a hybrid system that you can use in 99% of your cases very easily and efficiently to achieve your endodontic treatment. It's the best way of making a root canal without no need of any extra file. But of course, you can combine our all files together. It's up to your choice during your clinical practice. But you know, when we talk about case-based rotary system, Rising is your favorite file. So, you know, actually, when we do root canal therapy, we have to gain a proper access for the coronal 1/3 with an orifice shaper. Then we divide the root canal into 3 parts. Then we continue with the middle third of the root canal and the apical third of the root canal. So we have to make a proper entrance from the orifice to reach the apical part. And we need some glide path files and some shaper files to complete our endodontic therapy easily. So for this purpose, Rising is a system that you will all have your files to complete your endodontic treatment in just one set, one kit of files that has, every file has a different metallurgy, every file has a different nickel titanium, and every file has different cutting angles that will help you to continue your shaping procedure very smoothly. So we all know that while we are making the root canal treatment, we have to preserve pericervical dentin. If we don't preserve it, we will have some issues about for the later years. So according to studies, 4 millimeter from the coronal and 6 millimeter from the dentinal walls of the root canal surface is enough for us. But for clinically, if you have 4 millimeter from the coronal part and 4 millimeter from the root canal dentin, it's especially a good way to preserve pericervical dentin. We have to be always in a minimal way to complete our root canal treatment. We don't want to enlarge the root canals. We don't want to get into large tapers. The problem here is to use the best method to achieve minimal invasive shaping with the other weapons of our clinical practice, like irrigation, activation, and our solutions for irrigating the root canals. This is the best way to achieve our treatment. So some of the colleagues asked me how I can achieve a minimal invasive shaping. Dear colleagues, if you have a 5-taper file or less, so you can have anatomical shaping procedure, but you're exceeding about 5-taper, it's not possible for you to have an anatomical shaping. Also, for the details of rising, one of the most important thing of the rising is that it's a fixed taper instrument. So if an instrument is not a fixed taper, it will increase while circulating inside the root canal system and will enlarge the root canals more than you start for shaping. So that's the reason that we need to preserve dentinal walls and we need to make a minimal invasive shaping procedure. So rising is a fixed taper instrument that doesn't enlarge the root canals according to the circulation of the instrument. So rising is with the Fanta Dental's solution and added to our old files as a new file. So you can have a hero for your clinical cases. So let's see again what is rising.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. So shine bright tonight. You and I. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Eye to eye, so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine.
So rising, has some special characteristics that no other file has. So rising makes minimal invasive shaping with anatomical shaping angles and cutting efficiency. It is an extreme cutting efficiency and specialized cutting angle that has never done before with any of the companies, and it's a patented product for Fanta Dental. And it has maximum debris removal, special design that smoothly removes debris from apical to coronal. Compared to the other file systems, it's a very, very unique file that can carry debris from apical to coronal very easily. And there is one special characteristic of rising file that makes you cone fit perfectly. That's a really good opportunity to have a file like that, because while you are achieving your root canal treatment, while you are working inside the root canal, sometimes the gutta percha goes away from the apical part, and that makes you a bad feeling during your clinical practice because you waste time on taking radiograph, cutting the gutta percha, and trying to adapt it inside the root canal system. So it's a very bad experience while you are doing your root canal at your clinic. So this makes you to feel very comfortably, creating you an apical plug and apical tugback sense at the apical part of the root canal, so you can easily complete your procedure without any problem. So your heart will not beat during the patient procedure, trying to catch the working length and make a proper filling. When you shape it rising, you can feel the smoothness of the file, starting from coronal to apical. And it shapes so smoothly that you can easily adapt inside the root canal anatomy, so you can shape and you can finish your root canal procedure without any hesitation. Rising is a very, very experienced file system that it adapts to your usage, your feelings, that you can shape and irrigate and fill the root canal without any problem. So when we talk about rising, we have a chart to show you how to use inside the root canals, and you will have this chart inside the box, and when you open it, you will see that for easy canals, for moderate cases, and for hard canals, you can have all types of chart you can use in your cases. When we talk about easy canals, we're talking about straight canals, single-rooted, and without any curvature, premolars. So you can start with an orifice shaper, then you can negotiate with C-flex number 10. Then you can go to R2 and R4. That makes you the shaper files of the system. So R2 is 25.4 taper and R4 is 28.5 taper. But R4 is a very special file that you can use before R2 and after R3. So you can use this file in every situation while you are finishing your shaping procedure. For medium canals, for premolars, molars, and when you have little curvatures, you can start with orifice shaper. You can negotiate with number 10, C-flex. Then you can complete your procedure with R1, our glide path file, and you can finish with R2. In that procedures, as you see, we need a system to complete the cases. I know some of the colleagues like single file techniques, but to start from the orifice is the best way to complete your root canal. We need to create an orifice opening, then we need to open the glide path, and we need to finish and shape with our finishal files to complete our procedure. We have also chart for moderate canals like curvature canals, molars, premolars, and moderate canal anatomies. In that way, we also start with an orifice shaper. We negotiate with 10C file. Then we have the glide path file R1, R2, and we go to R3 to make the best home fit. But in all of our cases and in all of our charts, the main aspect is that rising has a specialized gutta-percha that makes the cone fit perfectly. So we always advise you to use rising specialized gutta-percha for your clinical cases. It's the best way to get the apical tugback sense with the specialized gutta-percha. During the all procedures, we need to have always irrigation, dynamic irrigation during all file changes to complete our therapy. And to fit the cone that when you have this sense of apical tugback, this gutta-percha stays at the apical portion where it's supposed to be, so you can go and directly make your filling procedure very easily. And for the hard cases, for severe curvatures, for calcification cases, you need to start with, again, with the orifice shaper, then with 10 number C-flex, with R1, R2, R3, and R4, and you can complete all the procedure very easily. So in that case, there is a radiograph here that a premolar treated before. It's a little bit hard case because there's a curvature here, like about 50 degrees to 60 degrees. So you need to penetrate into the root canal, removing the gutta-percha, having the working length, and filling the root canal properly. As you see here, we started with the orifice shaper, then continue with the glide path, and to complete the procedure, we use our shaping files R2, R3, and R4 to complete the procedure. Between the rising files, after you start shaping procedure, R2 is the first shaper file. So you can stop with R2, or you can go to R3 and R4 for your needs and for your purposes. But it's possible to stop in every shaper file to have the apical tugback. Only glide path file has no apical tugback, but after the glide path file, the apical tugback starts with our shaper files. So you can easily put the 𝗙𝗏𝗀𝗃 inside the root canal to complete your filling procedure. And now we have extreme curvatures, root canals with 90 degrees, double curvatures, and S-shaped canals, which are one of the most important and most hard cases that you can ever face while achieving your root canal treatment. Now, when you start with the orifice shaper, you can negotiate with number 10C file. Then you can go to R1, R2, but this time you need to use R4 before R3 because R4 has the technology to pass all curvatures, all the S-shaped canals and double curvatures. Then you can complete your procedure with R3. But to give you the most important point here, you know that R4 is not a typical file. R4 is a passage file that can be sometimes used before R3 or after R3. So it's like a recapitulation file. It's like a passage file you can use during your complete procedure before finishing your root canal treatment. While you are using R4, you need to adapt inside the root canal with R2. Then after that, you can pass to R4. And when you pass to R4 and you circulate inside the root canal, you will see how smoothly it goes from coronal to apical portion. And this is the most important point, that when you are using rising file system, you don't need any extra file system to complete your procedures. So you have a whole system, including all your aspects for your root canal procedure to finish all your cases very successfully at your clinical practice. So 2 months ago, we published an article with Dr. Atta that we compared Rising with one of the most popular files in the market. It's the FKG Race Evo. And we tested for fracture resistance at body temperature and at room temperature, comparing the two files' reactions at artificial canals. And it's found that Rising demonstrated superior performance to cyclic fatigue tests compared to other file systems. We are testing many files with Rising, and Rising has an extreme power compared to other file systems in the market. It's not like an ordinary file system. It's an 18 years experience that we combine our power with Fanta Dental to produce that amazing file. I'm not telling this as a promotional fact. I want all of my colleagues to test Rising file to see the amazing results for their root canal treatment. And when you look at the graph, you can see the big difference. In artificial canals, Rising has a very durable time to fracture. So it's nearly about 45 to 48 minutes time calculated for fracture. So it's an amazing time because most of the files in the market has a breakage time about 10 to 12 minutes. So we triple the process of the file systems in the endodontic market. You know, world is changing. New metallurgy is adapting to our technology, forming us a way to use our files very efficiently during our procedures. In the market, there are a lot of endodontic files, but 5X rule is for Rising because when I created Rising, I was aiming to have a file 5 times durable than the other files, 5 times more accurate adapting to the root canal walls, 5 times more anatomical shaping procedures. So we are getting into details with Rising in every step of webinar, trying to explain you the special characteristics of our file. 5 X rule is for rising. Rising removes debris from apical to coronal 5 times compared to other file systems in the market because it has a specialized cutting angles and adapting morphology inside the root canal system that creates you to remove excessive debris from the apical to coronal portion very easily. So making the minimal invasive shaping also the most important part is removing the excessive debris. And this is the point that it's 5 times more powerful compared to other file systems. Rising is 5 times more powerful for cutting efficiency compared to other file systems. It's a unique system that can easily create you the cutting efficiency inside the root canal very easily with the adapting morphology, and one cut is enough to capture the debris to move from apical to coronal. Rising elasticity is 5 times more compared to other files, and our research team is on the way to publish you the new articles of Rising, showing you the shaping ability, the debris accumulation, the debris removal from apical to coronal, and the new fracture resistance tests compared to other files, and all details of Rising are on the way. So you can see and understand the difference of our file. And when you use Rising compared to other file systems, you get 5 times apical tugback sense compared to any of the other file system. Rising has the power to create you an apical tugback, so when you release your 𝗙𝗂𝗀𝗃, you won't have any problem that your 𝗙𝗙𝗃 will not pass beyond the apex point. So you can have an easily anatomical shaping procedure during your treatments very easily. Rising is the only file that patented to that specialties that no one has ever created before, because Rising is a unique file system. So you can put your heart on Rising, that you can feel the sense and power of the technology you can use during your clinical practice. Believe me, in my heart, when I tested Rising, it's the most powerful file that we have ever produced. So compared to other file systems, when you use Rising, if you have a calcified canal, if you have a stuck canal, you will easily understand how Rising penetrates into the calcified orifices without harming the morphology. And after you finish your shaping procedure, when you put your 𝗙𝗃𝗀𝗃 inside, you will easily understand the apical tugback very easily, that if you don't lose your working length, you will never have a problem while using your Rising files. And it's the machinery and power of technology that we use to produce our files. Let's see a case. You need to negotiate with RR for the orifice shaper. It was a treated tooth before, but your treatment was very loose to get the 𝗙𝗃𝗀𝗃. You can also use your orifice shaper to remove the 𝗙𝗃𝗃𝗃 from the coronal portion. You know, for retreatment cases, the coronal portion is actually the most important part. There's a pus coming outside the root canal. You can use microsection to suck the pus. Then you can complete your shaping procedure. Of course, we do irrigation in all our file changes. You can see that RR can easily pass the calcified surfaces. You can see the great amount of debris from apical to coronal. Then you can pass to the shaper file directly. You don't need to use the glide path. Use our e-heater to activate the solutions. I'm going to give you some special tips of using the rising files. And all videos are shot by our microscope, so you can see the image clarity of the videos. Rising is a special file system and a specialized metallurgy that it's a variable cross-section, but it has a fixed taper to complete our shaping procedure. You negotiate with the 10 file. Then with RR, you can penetrate the coronal 1/3. Then irrigation. And you can complete with the glide path. Look how smoothly it goes to the apical part. Irrigation. Then you need to use R2 to complete the shaping procedure. Irrigation. If you want to go to larger, you can go to R3 and R4 to complete your shaping procedure. You can use rising in 450 speed and 2.5 Newton torque. It's a fast file system. Then you place the 𝗙𝗿𝗀𝗃 and have the perfect cone fit. You know, even the acrylic blocks have an open end. When you shape it rising, you get the apical tugback to complete the procedure without any problem. To introduce the files of rising again, rising RR is the orifice shaper that can adapt with calcified orifices into the root canal system very easily to achieve you the opening for glide path. This is the under the SEM microscope image. Rising RR is a special file that it has a semi-active tip to grab the calcified surfaces, to grab the 𝗙𝗿𝗃𝗃 to remove from the coronal portion. It's very effective to penetrate inside the root canal with the RR. Even you cannot open with the calcified surfaces with ultrasonics, you can penetrate with RR, our orifice shaper, to complete the procedure very easily. Let's see how RR works. The special movement of RR makes you to feel comfortable while opening the orifices. It can easily remove the debris from the coronal portion. You see how it adapts inside the root canal. Then you can continue directly with R2. Also for mesiobuccal and MB2. It's a very effective file after R1 to penetrate inside the morphology of the root canal system very easily. Rising R1 is our glide path file, which is very effective to passing the calcified surfaces inside the root canal very easily. For the past times, it was not advised to pass the calcification with a rotary file, but for rising technology, you can easily pass the calcification inside the root canals with R1 without any problem, because I always mention this during my webinars, but I repeat it to make you to understand the possibilities of rising, that while you are using R1, if you put R1 in your hand, it's a very soft file. So you can bend it inside the room temperature and you can adapt it with the pre-curving inside the root canal. But if you use R1 inside the root canal, and if R1 hits a calcification inside the root canal system, it gets harder than ever to pass the calcification. And for the curvatures, it goes smoother again to pass the adaptation of the root canals very easily. So Rising is a clever file system that can understand your pressure while you are achieving your root canal treatment, while you are passing the orifices, while you are opening the glide path, and while you are shaping. It can understand the morphology of the tooth and the root canal system. So it's a specialized metallurgy that you have never used before. And it's a very special file that makes you feeling comfortable during your root canal treatments. So when we pass to through our shaper file, it's number 25 with 4 taper. If you are doing your root canal, you can stop with R2 during your procedure and finish the root canal and putting your special R2 𝗙𝗖𝗄𝗃 inside the root canal system to complete the procedure. But if you want to go larger, you can continue with R3 and R4. Let's see how R2 works.
So high, so high, so high. So high, so high, so high.
You negotiate with your 15K file, with your natural file, then orifice shaper.
When I was down, when I was hurt, you came to lift me up. Life is a dream and love's a drug. Oh, now I think I must be.
Then you can continue with the glide path file.
When I was hurt, withered, dried up, you came to rain and
Then you can complete with R2 to complete your therapy very easily. And you can complete the procedure with R3 and R4 and R4 or R3. It depends on the situation according to our charts.
oh, angel sings from above. I feel you coursing through my blood. Life is a drink, your love's about to make the stars come out.
Of course, we need to do irrigation in every stage of our root canal treatment. For the R3, this is the second shaper file of the system. It's number 30 that After you finish with R3, you can easily put your special R3 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗀 to complete your shaping procedure very easily. Or if you continue shaping, you can go directly with R4, but this is a special file because this is number 28.5 taper. R4 is a special file that can enlarge the taper without enlarging the apical part. So it's a very important file. It's a passage file and it's a recapitulation file between your procedures. R4 is a very special key file of the system. So you need to have R4 in every time with your rising system. This is the rising system starting from the orifice shaper with finishing with R4, going with R1, R4, R3 for your shaper files. To remind you, please use with 450 speed and 2.5 torque to achieve your root canals with rising system, because it's a very special R&D work that we gain speed and torque while making millions of tests on the files to achieve the greatest speed and the greatest torque that you need to use in your clinical practice. Some colleagues like single file systems. If you want to use like a single file system, you can use rising as a single file, of course, with using with the orifice shaper. Because, in my cases, I try to use rising as a single file to show you that also the adaptation of the rising as a single file is very useful while using inside the root canals. And for large canals, you can use R3 and R4, as I mentioned. You have a 3D shaping procedure with rising that you have never tested with any file. And this is the cyclic fatigue test with the artificial canal while I was testing R4. And I just didn't cut the video, just speed up the procedure, not to wait for a long time, because we have a short period of time explaining you all the details about rising. As I speak, nearly 28 minutes past, going to 45 minutes to complete the breakout procedure of rising. I know that it's a huge amount of time for a file system to get a fracture in 45 minutes. But as I always say, rising is a different file system, different type of metallurgy, and different type of adapting morphology that has never done before. So in this case, you can see the curvatures that you can have the apical stop also with shaping with the orifice shaper and finishing with the rising R2 shaping file. So how can this happen? The colleagues asked me that, how can you have the apical tugback with your system? With the rising system, and I can give you the special detail that at the apical part at 0.5 millimeters, there's a special design, okay? So when you use the rising file at the apical part, the special design of the cutting angles create you the apical tugback to finish the procedure. You shape with your shaper file, it creates you the apical stop, then you finish your procedure and insert your 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗀 inside the root canal to finish your root canal procedure. We had the thousands of tooth testing under CBCT and criticizing the shaping of rising with the other file systems, and testing that if any morphological changes happen at the apical part, there is no difference according to the morphology. without changing the morphology. You have the apical tugback, and we are going to publish an article on that. So you will see the criticization of Rising with the other file systems. When you use Rising, I want to give you some special tips to complete your procedure. With the FantaBot system, I had videos on YouTube about explaining the FantaBot system and our special small devices that contain the technology of Bluetooth connection between and very comfortable for Rising usage. We have sodium hypochlorite during our procedures. Please use our e-heater, our downpack device, to heat up the sodium hypochlorite during the procedures to make more activation and increasing the amount of sodium hypochlorite penetration inside the root canal. Please use 𝗥𝗲𝗀 Pro for best experience while you are making the irrigation. You need a special activation device for the procedures. If you don't have 𝗥𝗲𝗀 Pro, you can use our Hurricane file AF Max 3 during the procedures to activate the solutions inside the root canals with Rising system.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. Ay, what you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental.
The point here is that most of the colleagues ask me that can Rising be used on the palatal roots of the molars for large canals? If you have the system of Rising and you combine with the small devices of Fanta, you can use and you can achieve all types of root canals. I can say you that you can have 99% of your cases with having the Rising file system. So what about the filling? How I can achieve my procedure? You open your cavity, you have a good orifice shaping, you open the glide path, you have the finisher files, you make the irrigation, activation with 𝗥𝗲𝗀 Pro, heating with e-heater. Then you have to complete this procedure with a smooth filling. You can use the e-filler for three-dimensionally filling procedure to complete your root canal very easily. In that point, you have to make firstly the down packing of the gutta percha, then you use e-filler to make the backfilling and completing your 3D dimensionally filling with Rising system. It's mostly the most important part. The mostly mistaken part is that early colleagues do the best shaping, best activation, but for the filling procedure, I don't know, and sometimes we cannot have a proper filling procedure. So with the Rising system, you have to use and finish the filling procedure with the proper tools to make the best 3D dimensionally filling. Another case with the pulpitus. You see how it goes passes the calcification points. The R1 is a very special file to pass the calcification points. And you can easily finish your procedure with the rising file system. This is the CBCT image that the apical part has the proper gutta-percha tugback where it needs to be. So you need to complete all the procedures very smoothly while you are making your root canals. This is the orifice shaper, RR, opening the calcified orifices. I'm trying to show you as much as I can in a 1 hour period of time, giving you the details of rising. And you can continue to open all the orifices before using the shaper files. You see the eccentric motion of R2 inside the root canals. You see how it grabs the calcified canal? You need to heat up the solutions for better penetration. Then you can complete the procedure with rising system. This is another case. I tested rising in mostly calcified canals to see and show you the workout of the RR, our orifice shaper. You can see the debris coming from the orifices, how it penetrates inside. We do irrigation. This is our glide path file R1 to pass the calcification inside the root canal. And this is the eccentric motion of the R2 during the shaping procedures, so it adapts all the root canals very easily, completing the treatments. With e-heater, I heat up the sodium hypochlorite. Then I use 𝗥𝗲𝗏 Pro to make the proper activation procedure. And you can complete your shaping procedure. In this case, there's a premolar that I negotiated with the orifice shaper. Then I go with our glide path file. Then I use the R2, R3, and R4 to complete that procedure and make after that the proper filling of the case. This is another video showing you the negotiation of the RR orifice shaper inside the root canal. You can easily adapt to the orifice part easily. And you can make the proper shaping after removing the coronal 𝗙𝗿𝗀𝗃. Easily. You can complete the procedure with R2. We have to increase our irrigation protocol in every file change during the procedures. Then, as you see, R2 is doing his job inside the root canal. And you can complete the procedure. And you can have smooth shaping of the root canals with the shaper files. Once you go to working length, now it's over. Then you can finish the shaping procedure. Then you can complete and achieve that smooth shaping procedure. We do our work with passion. So, we are ready to rock with the rising. Rising is everywhere across the world. And for my special thanks to attending to online broadcast of my webinar. I'm Dr. Emre Övsay, endodontist, R&D specialist, creator of Rising, and proud to be the key opinion leader of Fanta Dental Global. See you for the next webinars explaining you the properties and details of our file system Rising. See you and have a good day.